everyone. Happy special Siege meeting. Yay! Yeah, you'll notice this is not the second Tuesday of the month.
This is,
I don't know, the 16th Wednesday,
something like that.
Something like that. We'll go with it. Oh, hey! Oh, hey!
Well, we are
very glad. If you're not underwater, who knows what's happening? Don't check in, just get over here.
Just come join us.
Just come join us.
All right, so we have a full panel here to talk about building your sustainable indie game dev studio. So everyone here has had a game dev studio. So in business, they say if you had a company last 3 to 5 years, you've had a successful company. Well, everyone here has had a company that's lasted longer than that. But before we get into that, let me make a few announcements. First of all, who's participating in the Global Game Jam? Yay! Oh, lots of you. And you on stream, you can all applaud too. There you go. Make some noise in the stream. Put in the chat. Where are you doing your jamming? Write in the chat. And for you over here, who's going to GSU? Yay! Who's going to KSU? Woo! Yay! Who's going to SCAD? Yay! All right. If you are not already set on a jam location, talk to those folks. They can probably give you more information. They can help you form a team. All of those locations are absolutely wonderful. There's also the Atlanta Online jam site. If you can't go to a physical location but still want to jam, you can find all of this at ggda.org. So you'll also have information on the Best in Georgia contest there. Something that is not up on the GGDA website is the fact that we're going to have a special workshop on Godot, March 2nd. We do these in our Discord. They'll also be on YouTube and Twitch, but the fellow who's doing it is actually going to have folks over at his house to talk about Godot ray tracing and art and such. So it's going to be a very fun night. We'll have more information up. We just decided on it today. We'll do Part 1, March 2nd, Part 2, March 16th. So check out the website and we'll have more info. If you're not already signed up for the newsletter, sign up for the newsletter. And if you are a GGDA member, you get access to our Discord, where February 10th we will have Succeeding with Neurodivergence in Game Development. I know, it's a shock to everybody that there's anyone neurodivergent in game development. But we are very happy that that is a group of game devs who succeed very well, and we love to have them share their thoughts on what is involved with making it a success. Of course, also in February, we have the Transformer AI and Future of Games Conference up at the Kennesaw Center. So we've got some great keynotes. Julie Tagalis, who wrote the textbook on AI and games. We'll be having Tim Johnson, who's been making incredible Discord games. We'll talk about his use of AI, and a very secret special guest who we haven't announced yet, because he hasn't gotten cleared yet. But we'll have more cool stuff. And of course, March, we'll have Siege at the Atlanta Science Fiction Fantasy Expo. We'll have more Best in Georgia news. So much happening. Check out ggda.org. And maybe at the end, we'll get Wes Harris to come up here and talk about using CreadeDev, again, like he did at our GSU meeting. But with that said, I am going to get our speakers to introduce themselves. They're going to talk about what they have been making, talk about their studio, and let's get them to say one thing that has been a major challenge in having a sustainable indie game dev studio. To my right.
Hello, I'm Aaron Yates. I'm the CEO at Fox Hands. We're an indie studio based up in Dundee. We've been going now for 9 years, mainly focusing on co-development and work for hire. It's funding the studio, all on that and none on the original side.
Hi, I am Karen Williams of Hiccup Interactive, and I have made a game that teaches Japanese through a twin shooter. It is called Urchins and Ink. I would say the thing that, I guess the biggest thing is keeping motivation for your own thing, like as far as what's going on in the day-to-day stress of work and so on and so forth can sometimes make you a little bit discouraged outside of your day job. Since there's not someone actively either checking back on you or giving you like a paycheck per se, it can be kind of hard to keep that motivation. So keeping that in check, staying with your community, and keeping that community to keep you going.
And when Alan says Dundee, he doesn't mean a little town down by Macon, Georgia. We are talking about Scotland, indeed. So, I represent kind of the more traditional game dev side. I would be funded by publishers to make my own intellectual properties. I would continue to own the intellectual properties.
So I've got games that are still being sold 30 years after we initially made them, still bringing in money. So I love talking about the long tail aspect of this. So you have three very different perspectives here on the panel. So I'm doing this kind of classic where we get funded and we've got these IP we maintain. Alan works very closely with publishers and IP owners to create really cool things for them. And Karen is making her own title, but also holding down a day job, which I also find to be a more common method now. So I'm looking forward to talking about all of these as we go forward. So frankly, one of the interesting things about what Alan does is not only does he have to make a great game right now, but he also has to be working on a pipeline of more great games in the future. Just because he made a great game today doesn't mean he's paying the bills tomorrow. So let's talk a little bit about how you set up your studio. How do you work so that you're making a great game today and you've got more coming? And use some examples of some of the cool games you got there. Because these two games, you've all played them, you love them, you just don't know he made them.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is that we've worked on loads and loads of games. Most of them no one's ever heard of, the majority no one's ever heard of. Then we've got a few big titles. And for us, it's always you have to look at the next thing. We've got a team working on 3 projects at the moment, and that's today. I currently, as the CEO, looking at 12 months' time, trying to get the deal over the line and making work for hire projects. It takes about 6 months, 3 to 6 months to sign a project. So that really means that you have to be focusing on making a really cool game right now and making sure you're delivering a really high quality product that players are going to really enjoy, but then also trying to talk about what do the clients want in 12 months' time, what do players want in 24 months' time, that we can then circle back around to and make a cost-effective product for those players and publishers.
And Karen, I'd love to go at your time management. So you are trying to manage both a job and getting new content for your own game going and promoting your own game and being out at events. How do you handle that time management? How do you kind of organize your schedule?
There's lots of screaming, but it's cathartic. It kind of helps get through the day. But essentially, especially with a chunk of my company growth happening during COVID, some of it was just finding interesting ways to keep myself accountable for what I was doing. So I used to stream in the early developments of it as I got a lot of these basic things off the ground. I was kind of doing it from a solo dev perspective, so making sure that I sat down and created the foundation of what I wanted to build off of. And then from there, I commissioned people and kind of had, for lack of a better word, kind of like jam-like sprints with some of these commissions and other team members that I would have that would help me get to the next step. And by working with other people, me going to conventions, those are different ways for me to essentially network with people that could potentially join these different jam-like sessions, as well as finding interesting ways of funding and support for me to keep funneling money towards that. Because with my day job, I still have to pay my other bills, and this is a separate thing that isn't supporting my life. So making sure that I'm not just having it be a money pit by connecting it to other things and expanding further.
That's excellent. Both of you have talked about a very key point, which is your audience, your community. So for me, back when I was reaching out to publishers, there's always been an obvious publisher liaison, developer liaison to every publisher. That's kind of changed. So with Alan, while his main goal is to make the players of the games happy, he knows first he has to make these people at the publishers who's co-developing with happy. They become his primary audience, even though his real goal is to have players, gamers, enjoying the games. Now with Karen, it's direct to the players, keeping them happy. So let's talk about this. How do you find the right people to reach out to contact about doing development? And then how do you nurture that relationship? And Karen, it's going to be the same to you about that actual fan community.
In terms of publishers and developers, a lot of drinking, really. A lot of drinking.
Georgia Tech, get you ready for that.
And the reason why that is because people want to work with people they want to work with. But that's the biggest thing in games is you could do it via Zoom, you could do it all online, by text and by email, and that's how it used to be done. Mm-hmm. But now, because we're an international community, people still want to have that face-to-face contact. And the only way to do that is to get in front of their face. And most of the people who work on the business side, enjoy to drink. I enjoy to drink. So going to events, big events like GDC, also some of the smaller events, and you just talk to people, and you talk to people and you get used to them, just a person, not talking about the work, talking about what they're up to, what the kid's doing, what the football scores are, and having that more personal connection. And then you can get talking into business, but you want to work with people they want to actually work with, and that's both on a work for hire, but also on a publishing platform method. You'd rather work with a developer for 18 months that you can get on with than an absolute pain of a developer that's got a slightly better game or maybe has more potential, but they're a pain to work with, then you know you're going to fall out and not be able to keep that going. So having a really strong personal connection with someone is going to do so much more than having a just really solid game or a really solid pitch for an RFQ for work for hire.
So for me, there's definitely been situations where, because my game is educational, how I presented it to people changed depending on who I was talking to, because sometimes when I would say I'm making an educational game, they're like, that's not so fun, I'm going to turn my brain off. But kind of like the way that I presented it, reaching out to people who have already interest in the area that I'm already working in, as well as having some discernment with people that are excited about you because they want you to work on their thing versus they're excited about you and they want to contribute actually to your thing. Because there's definitely, with a lot of networking, you're going to find tons of passionate people that want people to work on their thing. And the exchange of I scratch your back, you scratch my back can sometimes just be you kind of giving them work and then maybe that not kind of like flushing out where you were expecting to go. So keeping some discernment about that, as well as broadening who is actively interested in you that you're pursuing. So there's lots of different funds and groups and things like that that were interested in me for different reasons. Whether it be because of the educational thing, me being an independent developer, Georgia, like there's location things, like finding all those different ways to kind of like soak up the main base thing of what your project is about and leaning into all those different areas that can help you get one step closer. I would also say be personable. Like, it can definitely be hard sometimes to, not be a little computer gremlin. Be friendly when you're interacting with, like, these things, because you never know who might actually be a really good partner to work with just because you happen to be a gremlin that day and you just found your next new artist.
Excellent. All right. So when I first sent out the idea for how this panel will flow, I talked about how you started, how you sustained, and how you grew, kind of as the main focus for this. So let's go back to those early days. A, what in the world made you think you want to make games? And number two, how did you get it started? It's very hard to get started in code dev because you actually have to have someone you work with. And same with you, Karen, you had to have an idea, and how'd you get it going?
So I started back in university. In our third year, we had a group project where we make a game together, and a group of my friends were working on a VR game. It's called Honeypot Espionage, where the more you move, the more visible you became. So it's still totally invisible, and as you move and you shot, you became more visible. And we just went hammer on marketing it and entering every student competition possible. Microsoft flew this out for the Imagine Cup, so we went to Seattle. We met Val, and we're making the game. Someone's going to fund us to make this game that we worked on, really happy with. And then we actually kind of started to talk to the publishers more, and no one really wanted to fund a VR multiplayer first game project. No one really wanted to give us £500,000 for that, shockingly. But we had to pay our bills, and we really liked working together. And so we managed to get lots of small, really small, £5,000, $6,000 projects from universities and various kind of small funding pots to make games that cost a lot more than that. We're just about that to make. And we were effectively working as freelancers, the three of us, freelancers, but pulling our money. And we kept on doing that slowly, and then we got close with some of the local actual developers, larger developers, and we did some subcontracts for them. So they'd effectively hire us for 3 months to go be an engineer for them, be an artist for them for 3 months and work on one project they're working on. So we got a credit and we could say we worked on this larger game. And we kept on doing that, and then we kind of slowly built our way up, and we got a wee bit more traction. People knew that we did that things for the other local studios, so we managed to get slightly larger projects that were we make this full game, but it's still a small game. It's £30,000, $35,000, and we worked hard and did that. And then COVID happened, and all our projects got cancelled, pretty much, and we were kind of sat looking at, we need to pay the bills, we need to pay staff at the time, we had employees at the time, and we got lucky, effectively. Some of the contacts we've been working with on the small, really small stuff, said, we need you for this slightly bigger thing, and that was Oddworld. So we did Oddworld Soulstorm for a little bit, and that kind of, again, opened another door because, we worked on a bigger game now, a proper bigger game, and they really liked working with us. They saw that we could actually do what we're doing, and it just grew a little bit by a little bit, and it just keeps on snowballing. 9 years, we've worked on so many games in that 9 years, but really only 5 of them actually mattered. Like the rest were just to pay the bills, and 5 of them meant we could get to the next step up. So we kind of, the first project that actually properly paid, that first unlock. Then it was working on an actual game, not just using games technology for architecture. And then working on Oddworld, that was another big unlock. And then working with Adult Swim on the Pocket Mortgage game, another big unlock, another big IP. And then working on some ports, again, another big unlock. Now we have access to all the development platforms. And it's a slow slog because in between those 5 games, there's about 90 projects we work on. And that's a lot. And when you do co-development, that's kind of how it always works. There's always a treadmill. You need to be working on the next project. What's the next thing that's going to be on the pipeline? And that's a hard treadmill to stay on. But once you get on the treadmill, you can't get off it because you've got staff to pay, you've got people to keep happy, and you kind of still enjoy it. Like for me, I'm a workaholic, so I really enjoy both the finding the work and getting the work. So that's where we started, and that's kind of where we're going.
So I started Urchins and Ink because I was kind of being a smartass. My software development professor, it was mainly a documentation class, and he did not want us to do a game. And my focus is games, so like, I'm gonna do a game. So it took me some like ways that I could kind of like massage it that would make him interested in it. And I was like, oh, well, it's educational and it's like this, that, and the other. And I just came back from a study abroad in Japan, so I wanted to do something Japanese related. And so I did all the, essentially all the design documents and stuff like that, and came up with something that not only works with Japanese, but works with any other logographic language. And I really liked the paperwork that I came up for this thing. The design document I was really excited for. I decided to set up it was random, like 1 month game jam, and after that was Siege. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to make the game and present it at Siege, and I got this thing that I was a smartass doing. Coincidentally, the professor that I had that I was a smartass to ended up transferring to KSU, and he was at Siege whenever that I presented the project that he didn't want me to make. So I was especially excited. But yeah, making that, it just brought me a lot of pride, and also it was something that I wanted to use to get a job in games. And I kept refining it and working on this thing. A lot of people thought my art was ugly, so eventually I had to get an artist and expand things a little bit further. But it was kind of something that I always refined in the background to keep me kind of like grounded with what I wanted to do. Regardless of what other people were trying to direct me or how I'm supposed to go, this is my passion. You can't tell me what to do. I'm gonna do what I want to do. And it was nice. And it worked out for me. Also with like going to conventions with it, it helped me kind of like overcome a lot of social anxiety. Like this kind of became a way for me to refine myself as well as my skills through programming. As I became a better programmer, I redid different things, and it's kind of just churned into, I don't know, just my magnum opus that I'm willing to like share much further than just myself. It started off as a hobby, it started off as a thing just to kind of like get through a project, but now it's a product that I've not just made for myself, I've made it for what I'm tailoring to an audience, what I think would be a good add-on to other companies that I pitch this to. And being annoying to send my game to other companies that like, hey, I think I do something really well that you don't, and I could kind of help you guys out if you want to be, add a squid somewhere. But yeah, it just kind of became something that it wasn't just stuck on, oh, I finished it and I'm done. It's morphed, it's changed. It had a different name. At Siege, they kept calling it Squid Game, and I'm really glad I didn't stick with that. My SEO would be absolutely nuked. But like keeping some type of passion project, even if I didn't put this out to anywhere, even if I didn't want to like sell or anything like that, I'm proud of what I made, and it kept me always aware that like I'm a competent game developer. I'm doing something amazing and good, regardless of me like working in an industry that I didn't imagine myself going into. I worked in the casino industry for many years. Same skill set as any other traditional game company, but I'm making slot machines, and I feel ways about that, but I'm not doing that anymore. So hooray! But yeah, just like designing games isn't just because it's fun. It's who I am. It's what I do. What brings me joy. What brings me pleasure. And however that I can keep doing that, and not being so lost in the sauce that I don't get my bills paid. It keeps me where I am.
Excellent, excellent. Love hearing that. All right, so now you've both got the studios going, and something you both talked about is having to work with other people. Alan, you kind of hit the sweet spot to have actually two people you can work with since university. You actually can still keep working with, can keep talking to, much less continue to work with. And Karen, you've had some good success with people you've worked with as well. So it is key to, unless you're going to be trying to be pure solopreneur, how do you bring together a good team? What do you look for? How do you make sure that you can work together through this partnership plus people you've brought on board? So for you, how do you keep that partnership going effectively? And then how do you bring on new folks effectively? And Karen, for you, how do you find the right people, and how do you communicate what you need them to do?
I think they are two different things, a partnership and an employee, kind of a person working for you. On the working side, it's you've got to really think about where do they sit within the culture of the organisation, where do they, not just the skill set, skills are really important, but it goes back to how you deal with people. Someone's an arsehole, they're not dealing with an arsehole. I think you work long enough to realise the people you like working with, and for me that's passion. Like, not, okay, right, we're going to work late nights, we don't do crunch, but I want someone who like just loves working on games. Like, this is really cool stuff, and you can't be passionate about working on really cool stuff, working on Rick and Morty, working on all these cool things, then you're not going to be the sort of person that's going to be right for us. Might right for another game studio, but I want to see that kind of passion, and that passion to keep learning. That's kind of the key thing we really look for. Games do not stand still, especially on the engineering side. It does not stand still. You're always a new tech, a new engine, a new big thing for the engine. So how's your method of learning new stuff? Like, are you spending your evenings playing around with Godot because you think that looks cool, or is it looking at the next update for Unreal and how it's going to change this thing we do? Or is it kind of right, I just like reading about how teams work together and I want to see how we can improve our processes. Doing that in an interview is hard. That's a really hard thing, because hard skills, you can go do a code test, you can sit someone down and do this is how we solve a problem. Taking how do we manage the culture and how do you show that passion is the hard part to kind of really drill down on. It's the part I happily admit that we've gone wrong in the past. We've gone down paths where we realise actually this is not a right fit. and okay, it's not a right fit, we'll deal with that. But how do we catch that earlier in an interview? So for us, it's all about a kind of more deep conversation about how do you like to work, what's your passions, not just in games, in life. Let's hear your passion, let's talk about that and see is there actual natural fit in us as people, who the line manager is and whoever else within the organisation we bring into those interviews. On a partnership side, it's like a marriage. Like it's very much, it has to be marriage. You have to be able to disagree and disagree strongly with each other, but then able to disagree and commit to the plan that we go forward with, and really not going head to head, let's headbutt each other, but you have to be able to say, right, no, this is what is the right decision, and be able to really passionately say, this is how we're going to have to do it. And I hear your argument, but this is why I think you're wrong. And really fight it out. I think my partners, people describe us as like an old married couple, because you always have these silly little arguments about stuff that really we think is really important, and as business owners, things that you think are really important are normally really important, like that gut feeling. That's kind of why you're an entrepreneur, because you kind of get this gut, and your gut normally is right. So how do you make sure that you can have a big argument and then still go for a beer afterwards and work late nights together, because that's what you're passionate about?
So I would say, like, aside from just like generally, like I go to a lot of events and interact with a lot of people, and so sometimes it's just kind of keeping an eye out for like, this person seems cool. I go to game jams, and so like I'll work with different types of people and just kind of like take note of just like I like what they've done. They like what I do, kind of like finding that kind of like a bit of natural chemistry that comes along with that. But then it comes to like, hey, I want you to work on my thing, and I've had this really hot take that if you work for somebody, you should probably get paid. And so I really like to compensate the people that I work for, and if there's like not a direct way that I can give them money, it's like, what is the exchange of services that's going on here? Because like you deserve to be compensated for whatever that you do. And so with that, like sometimes I've had to be crafty about it with like I've like joined a program that gives us a stipend, and so like, hey, you need to work with me to do this stipend thing so that we can both get paid to do this thing. And that they're also like in it for something that they're gaining, that they're taking on out of here. Because I kind of feel like rising sales, or like rising tides lift all sales. So if this is something that you can put on your portfolio, put this on your portfolio. I'm gonna put your name on all the things, so like you do whatever that you can and like use this to get another job. There's people that I've worked with that's like, hey, I'm working at this other company and I know that they're a good programmer, artist, whatever the case may be, bring their name up, drop it in, because I know that they have good work. And whether it's just like, hey, they kind of just sent me an asset here or there, they've given me some feedback. There's someone that I've worked with my day job, and they happen to like, oh, I want to go to the con. Hey, you're willing to watch my booth for a while? I'll get you a ticket into the con if you help me out with this thing. And they give me feedback on my game, and they're an active play tester that gets through. So it's like not just the compensation of like money and things like that, but like looking at it from the point of view of like, you are providing a service, they are providing a service, everyone deserves to be compensated. And how can whatever that you're doing get you to the next step of what you're passionate about? And so finding people that are as in on what they're providing me to make it the best that they can has really helped to make sure that like of the people that I've worked with, that I've gotten some really good stuff that I can reuse and stretch and so on and so forth, and never feel ashamed to bring up their name anywhere that comes up. Like I'm going to be in some way or another associated with this person, and I believe in them. And so like having that concept has always kind of kept a plethora of people that I can reach out for a small thing here and there, feedback, just whatever the case may be, and just knowing that on both sides, we're respecting each other's work.
Okay. All right, very good. Now, something that's also been mentioned a few times now is feedback. So both of you get feedback from from the folks, you do get feedback, but you get it in very different ways. With Alan, you can't exactly run a Discord for most of the games that you put out there. You might be able to lurk in the Discords for them, but there are official community managers for the games you put out, so you can't play that role. So getting that feedback is interesting. How do you get and interpret and use feedback from your clients, as well as to try and get it from the players? And in your case, Karen, you get feedback in a lot of different ways, online, in person. Sorry, my day, we even got written letters. I don't think anyone ever does that, griping about your games. But you get it in a lot of different ways. How do you encourage them? How do you interpret what you hear? Start with you, Alan. How do you get the feedback, and how do you use it?
So with work for hire, there's generally two paths to that feedback's going to come through. There's the person you're working day to day with, effectively the producer, the opposite of our producer. There's an external one and an internal one. And if you've got a really good, healthy relationship, they're going to give you healthy feedback. And I think we give it all the way as well. We'll say, actually, the way that you guys are working is really being disturbing for us. Can you not do that, please? And then, but by doing that, likewise, we expect that same feedback to us. And sometimes that is on a personal level. We'll give clients feedback for the team who's working on that. If it's a producer, we'll ask for feedback from the external producer for our producer to make sure that we can help them improve as people and as producers. The other side of it is the biz dev side. So when it goes back up the tree from the producer up to their boss, and then back down the tree down to the biz dev person who then is having a drink with me at some event, says, "You messed that thing up. You messed that thing up. We didn't say anything. You messed that thing up." And we're like, "Yeah, we did. We did mess that thing up. But we did all these other things to solve it." And like, "Yeah, I know." But and they know that we did other things already, and that's why the producer didn't tell us, because they saw we already said, "Right, release this bug. Sorry, here's the bug. We're bringing the bug to you." Like, that's the big thing, is we always try and, if there's a problem, we want to be in front of that before it actually happens, rather than the client telling us there's a problem. So where we came to you with the bug and we said, "Here's the bug. Give us some hours to actually work out what's happening, and then we'll fix it." And now the business person's like, that was the right way of doing it, because most of the time people would just cover it up or forget. Just wait for them to tell them, "Please fix this thing for us." On a customer point of view, the players, we try to get very much back seat. That's not our area of expertise. We're not domain experts in customer service. Our QA team and our producers lurk in the Discord. Particularly the QA team will, after an update, will lurk in the Discord. Just keep an eye on what players are saying. If there is bugs, if there is feedback, we definitely read it. We just don't make sure the players don't know we're reading it. We don't want to be community people. We've had a lot of emails, and we just either forward them on or ignore them, because that's not what we do. And taking that kind of seat would be not what we want to be doing.
And not part of your contract either.
Not part of the contract, and I don't want to put words in anyone else's mouth. But a lot of times when we do get serious feedback, the players' thoughts on what the bug is and what the fix is very different than what the bug is and what the feature is. The players see it from one point of view, and that is not the point of view when you know everything else, the whole round system, the whole round how that game is made and why that's made a decision, where that's actually not a bug, that's the feature, and what you're seeing is you're seeing a bug that you think is now affecting this feature. And so we'll try and kind of distill that, and again that goes back up to the client saying, we saw these players send this, and sometimes we'll screenshot, say, we've seen this, maybe your community manager should go in and say, it's not that, we'll have a fix soon, or that's actually a feature, and then we'll work out what's actually the intended functionality with our designers and their engineers to push out a fix going forward.
So this is kind of multifaceted. One of the things that comes with feedback is definitely taking into consideration who you're asking. So the types of players that are actively playing your game, the goal of your game. So if the feedback that they're providing even contributes or harkens towards what the actual goal of your game is, because it's like, oh well, I hate playing twin shooters, and I think that this is really buggy, and it's like, well, you don't play these kind of games anyway, so I'm not sure how I can really help you right now. As well as when you switch from making something for a hobby to making something that you're trying to make as a product, you can't count yourself as the consumer anymore. You got to count who your actual audience is and what that means to you and what that means to the game. So, for example, in the early aughts of my game, I used to get a lot of complaints about how ugly my sand is. And I didn't really think it was important. Like, I hadn't gotten an artist at this point, so I just kind of put some dev sprites in there, and it gets the thing handled. Like, it does the thing. The mechanics are in there. They're doing it. But my sand was really ugly, and so that was all of my feedback for a minute there was just like I don't know, I liked it, it seemed fine or whatever, but the sand. And, I was like, but did you learn anything? Like, you learning, son? And no, I hate the sand is what they came up with. So I what the player is actually consuming, what they're giving back to you. So I had to up my art so that that contributes a huge amount to the gameplay. Is like the visuals. And so I made the game for myself. I showed this to devs, and devs would give me feedback about the mechanics, but then I showed it to a non-dev, and they're like, this sand is gross. So I lost any productive feedback for quite a while. And then once I upped my art and things like that, I started getting more feedback. I also would pay attention to things that the player would, like seeing them physically play the game. There's ways that you would think that someone would play our game versus what they actually do, and then the feedback that they actually say. They may not realize that they kept bumping into this corner over and over again, and realizing that oh, I need to get more feedback. Oh, my audio cues are a little touchy. Even so far as the setup at my booths, I used to have a Bluetooth speaker that just pointed towards them. I switched that to a shoulder speaker that sits on there, so it's very close to their ears because cons are very loud. And audio is a big part of my game because it's teaching you to pronounce things. So changing that shifted how competent that people felt afterwards because they could hear it easier. Small hands playing my games, having this aimed towards children, switching the layout, things of that nature. So you're not looking at it as something that you're making for yourself or that you're making for other devs. Who is your audience? How do they interpret things? And what are they actually doing that is in line with what the goals of their game is? So having the same person play over and over is definitely not a good idea for the long term. It can definitely get you some of those bugs worked out, but getting the expected experience, you have to diversify. Also keeping in mind that your game is not going to be for everyone. I brought Japan Fest is the most productive conference for me throughout the year because people are there in Japanese. But I would have native Japanese speakers, parents would look over the shoulder and they're like, "Oh, wakanayo," and I'm like I know you don't get it because you know. So this isn't either this isn't how I learned katakana hiragana. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. So getting some of that feedback, it hurt my soul a little bit that this Japanese parent is that's not how I learned kanji. It's okay, my guy. I'm sorry. I'm black. Yeah. I just approach this different, and this is for a different way to approach. It's evergreen. There's a bunch of different choices. I'm just another choice. I understand that you won't learn kanji from here. That's okay, Mr. Japanese man. I think I did a good job. And so keeping that in mind, don't take everything to heart. Just remember the goal of your game, your audience is out there, and keep pushing forward to find where you fit.
Beautiful. So we're actually going to go to the flip side of that. And for you on the stream, I'm sorry that it's we're not showing video right now. We'll get that fixed in a little bit. But at least you can still hear us. And the information is still incredibly good here today. So let's go to the flip side of what Karen was talking about. Let's talk about success. Because you have each had success. Let's talk about something that has defined success for you, and to use Alan's term, an unlock. What's the next unlock? So I'll give an example with HDI. For us, when we released Ever the Fading Suns computer game and the Fading Suns tabletop role-playing game, and built this Fading Suns community that is still alive 30 years later buying these games, that was an amazing level of success for us. There are also monetary successes. We got $1 million in royalties for Mall Tycoon. That was amazing success. Had to fund the company, unfortunately, because publishers weren't doing much at that point. But that is another level of success. So let's talk about success, and let's talk about the unlock. And of course, for me right now, it's getting my stuff back out on Steam, these older games, and finding that there are still audiences and new audiences for them. So Alan, one example of a success you've had, and the unlock. And then we'll turn it open to questions.
One option of success. I think for me, it's still being around. Like 9 years. 9 years still going around. It'll feel like 9 years, but being able to work on games for 9 years, professionally for 10 years, but as a company for 9 years, I didn't really imagine being able to go this long and be able to work on the IPs I'd be able to work on and really have actual control. And that's a success for me, is people trust us with their IPs across the board. That's a huge thing. Like, so many people said, yes, we trust Fox's Hands, yes, we trust Alan, you're going to do a really good job with our IP. You can't ask more than that in games. That's why I want to work in games, is to work on both my own stuff, but cool IPs around the world. That's what I want to do. So that's, to me, is the biggest thing for success. Our next kind of big unlock is we're trying to do more full cycle stuff. So that's games, start to end, big games, like AA games. That's what we're trying to do, is we want to be a lot more of a AA full cycle studio. We've done lots of, at the end of the game, the kind of porting side, or launch the game, we'll do code development, we help the developer launch the game. We've done live ops for games, we've done lots of that. We've done lots of prototyping and smaller projects, and we've done lots of bits and bobs in the middle where they'll bring in us on for a couple of months, a year, to do some engineering for them or do some art for them. So we've done full games, but not full games where we design the game from the start, program the game from the start, all the way through to doing the live ops 5 years later. That is kind of a really big unlock for a game studio like ours, where we've bid for a lot of those projects, and it's very hard to say, yes, we want this company to do that, when there's two others that they could say yes to. Doing one means you can do all of them, and everyone wants to have a de-risking scenario. So we look at the project, how do we poke holes in it and see a risk, and we are always trying to see, okay, we need to get rid of this risk. So when we started, it was porting, for example. We never done console stuff, so we worked how we did that, and we de-risked that. And then there was another thing, IP. Okay, we managed to de-risk that. Our team had never experience in this type of technology. Okay, we went to the current project, we did that. And for us, that final part is just full cycle from design, scratch, original IP, or someone else's IP, all the way through to the end. And we're very close to hopefully saying something for there.
So a huge thing for me, I self-published Urchins in Ink. It is on Steam. It teaches Japanese. It's got all the alphabet bits.
Plus, it's fun in itself.
It's fun.
Even without the educational
all
element.
that jazz. It's come a long way. But honestly, I've looked at that version of Urchins in Ink as a really well fleshed out proof of concept. There is nothing else that looks like it or plays like it when it comes to other language learning games. And so as far as like expanding to other languages, speaking to bigger companies that could use this and get this much further, I've sent my game, it was part of a course for language acquisition through tech, and I got a lot of great feedback from that college course, and how I would get this into schools, things of that nature, with where I can go further with this well fleshed out proof of concept that I have. I've got options, and I'm speaking to different things and so on and so forth. So it was just a huge accomplishment in and of myself, just to have it somewhere that exists, that people can get it and play. And I still go to cons with the PC version and have kids get really happy and excited about it. And it's just soul soaring. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's grand. And it's something that I feel like has always been in my back pocket and something that I've wanted to expand further, and I'm doing that. I've got that option. I've got my daytime career. I've done a lot there, and that's cool or whatever. But like I've grown and come and all these different things of this wonderful project, and I've got options of going further, and I'm counting on that. And so like having something that just kind of started off as a smart ass project that I made because I didn't want to listen to it became something that kind of like it grew with me, and that I can always pull out and have a great time with just watching new people play it in different ways and all the little changes and tweaks that I've made over the time. So that's been a great success for me.
Very nice. All right, now we're going to throw it open to you for your questions. You on the stream, you are also welcome to ask questions in the chat. We'll pass them on. So if you have questions here about starting a studio, how you get started, how you keep it going, any of those elements, and so forth, go ahead and ask them now, and I'll throw it all ready. Yes, start back there.
My question is more directed towards you, Alan, but how exactly do you go about setting up, like, let's say before you were established as your company, who was all this like co-work, how would you go about like that first interaction of, hey, I have a team that could assist you?
So the question is, how would you go about first approaching someone the first time? I've got a team that can assist you.
So you're really trying to solve a problem for them, and that's like how you start a bit. You're not saying I've got a team that can do all this stuff. They don't care about how it's done. They want to say, well, a problem. So first is working out what the problem is, and the only way to find out what the problem is talking to them. And that kind of goes back to the point I was making earlier: is if you go to a conversation or you go to a network event and you got someone say, "I want to do work with you," you're not going to get any work. And people do that. People do that, and it still shocks me to the day. Listen, people ask me that. So you can go and you go through a normal conversation. And what's the problem you're trying to solve? What's something that you're struggling with at the moment? People will tell you, oh, we're really struggling with some Unity bugs. Oh, we saw that recently with another project. I'll get one of our engineers to jump on a call with you and we talk through it. And these kind of first interactions, you're never going to be a big project moment. It's going to be okay, let's have that conversation. And it might be, you just have to jump on a call with someone and talk them through a simple Unity bug. But then you can gain some trust, and then, well, actually, I don't really want to do the Unity stuff anymore. Can you just do it for us and we'll pay you? So it's kind of that slowly building the trust through not just going up to someone and asking them for work. Because that's people hear that all day and they don't want to hear it anymore. People don't want to be cold sold or cold emails.
No, I like that. The whole idea of solving the problem, and that's Karen's whole thing, trying to help. How do you help people, especially kids, learn kanji? And there's huge demand for that. And I love that idea. Your approach is, how do I solve a problem you have? And be honest, even when you're making your own games, and you look for publisher funding, the easiest thing to see is, when is there a hole in your schedule? Yes, I have a project, and fit that hole perfectly. And you solve their problem. They don't care what the game is, as long as it ships, and ships well, and makes a little bit of money. All right, other questions from the audience? Yes?
I think it's more for Karen. I know you're working a full-time job, but how do you plan to transition to gaming full-time? Or do you have a plan to transition?
The question to Karen, do you have a plan to transition to full-time game dev?
I am doing that now, actually. So I am I've moved out of the casino industry. I have spent my time there. I've learned my things. The blood on my hands. But as far as finding support for myself and the things that I've gathered, because over all these years I've made amazing connections and things that because I had a full-time job, it was harder to fully utilize because I have to split at least 40 hours of mine, sometimes more than that because of salary, so it doesn't really matter. So I have to spend this chunk of time towards that thing. And so now that I've made connections, I've established what I wanted to do, I've refined myself more as a, developer, manager, things along those lines. Securing how I'm going to get money, as far as not only just selling the product, but there's plenty of things that you can apply for as a business, as a insert demographic here. Like there's tons of support for all kinds of different things. Applying to all of the contests, getting accolades that go towards your game that prove that like you have merit beyond just being a nobody on the screen. So like finding different ways that like I've established myself, proving that, and then taking that up to people that can therefore support what I'm doing even further. So like I've kind of been doing this on the side with all this time, and now that I feel like I've hoarded quite a bit of accolades and merit, I'm using that to shop and display myself and move forward, either into a more gamey game established job thing or just doing my own thing. I've got the option, and now I'm seeing which way fits the best for me.
Oh, we have a question from the chat?
Yep.
Good.
All right. Sydney Kids asks if so. Might have mentioned it earlier, but if money is tight and you're approaching people to work on your game, how do you have that conversation about pay, equity, or promise of future work?
Oh, very good. How do you have the conversation with people about how you're going to compensate them, pay, equity, work, etc., when you're tight on funds?
I don't have a whole lot to add to this because most of the people we work with have just been paid. I think for us, I always want to make sure we get paid. And if I can't afford to pay someone, then I can't afford to do the project. And that's kind of how we've always set ourselves up.
Be honest. So for one, everybody's got to buff up their portfolios, their what they're showing of themselves. You have to work on something that is somewhere to show to other people to get a job elsewhere. So if that is the case, and it's like all I can offer is that I'm going to do my damnedest on this project, and it's going to be worth showing elsewhere, that might be all that you have to offer. In other situations, being creative about how I said that I worked with other programs and stuff like that gave money for different things. So I would join contests and partnerships and things along those lines. I would provide stipends, or I got like an angel investor, things along those lines. So like if you are at the helm of this is my game and you want to work on it, you have to be the one to go out there and find those different ways to compensate those people. If you have to negotiate that, like, hey, I can't give you physical green dollars, I can, this is how I'm going to share your stuff. I'm going to post about your stuff. I'm going to, these are people that I can put you in contact with. Whatever that you gain throughout your interaction within a community, that is a commodity. It may not seem like it, but it's somewhere that you can start until you can actually pay people. So keeping that honest, being on like the good foot about that, and also just always acknowledging that anything that you do as well deserves compensation as well.
The only thing I would just add to that is if you're then going to get money in the future from a publisher, etc., you should be paying people up front. Like doing anything otherwise makes the whole thing more messy. Like you need to know who owns the IP, and unless you're giving someone physical money, then it gets really complicated around if you actually own the code that they've done or the art piece they've done. So if you're trying to take it to a publisher, you need to pay someone, or they need to be part of the organization effectively.
Contracts.
Good thing. All right, we've got 5 minutes before they throw us out of this building. So I'm going to end with one last question, because you said equity and you said investor. So let's talk about this. I don't know if you've ever gone for the investor route, but obviously you've got shares split between partners. A, if you look for investors, and B, if you thought about giving equity to employees. And Karen, let's talk a little bit about that attempt to get investors, just briefly.
So we're all bootstrapped, so there's no outside source. When we started out, we just bought ourselves laptops, and that's just been self-funded from there. That's the advantage of work for hire, is you can get revenue early rather than later. I think it's very complicated based on where you are in terms of giving equity with tax and stuff, so I can't really go into much detail on that, because in the UK it's very different to be over here. So if you are going to give away equity, I would say you have to do it early on, or you have to make sure you actually really understand and talk to an accountant or equivalent on how to actually do it, because if you can't just give someone a share of your company and then not expect that they're going to have to pay whatever tax of however value your company's at. If you say your company's value is zero, then it's probably not, or there's no point giving someone equity if you think it's value zero.
So with all of that, all these business terms and whatnot, shifting from there, you need to talk to someone for one. As far as like reaching out, speaking on like contracts, like there's people within the industry that's a lot further along the lines of you. So like being aware of how to protect yourself in these type of situations, but also putting yourself out there can sometimes attract the attention of people that are really, really passionate about what you're doing, and they've already got money. So something like I had an angel investor, for example, and with that they gave me a very, very beneficial contract that's like after X amount of time I don't have to pay back the money. Like this is something that's like
So it's a
they're
loan,
passionate
not
about.
an investment.
Essentially. And so they provided that, and it was just very nice of them. But that would just come from me putting myself out there. I went out and spoke to a lot of people and finding people that really, really want to help the indie devs and things along those lines. As far as it goes with further investments when it comes to equity, things along those lines, understanding what your numbers are, how to define the profitability of your product. So having to do a little extra homework there so that you can present what you're actually offering and know what you're actually potentially worth, and how to have that be balanced and equal on both sides as far as like what you're benefiting. So there's a little bit more business homework that you might have to do. Things like setting up a pitch and defining what your return on investment would be for them.
All right, and with that, we have reached the night. This is a topic we could talk about for another 9 years with our people, but I know they want to get out into that hot Atlanta steamy night. So with that, thanks to all of you here at Georgia Tech. Thanks to our crowd. Yay! Thanks all for your We'll be back February 10th with Succeeding with Neurodivergence in Game Development. See you all later.